We did it. Whoa! It just went back. Okay. Sorry about that. We're officially live now. No more starting soon. We are starting right now. This is episode 17, I believe, of DGweekly Live. So welcome, everyone. This time we're going to be talking about the Latitude 64 Flow. The Flow it's a distance driver, but it's almost like a controlled distance driver. It reminds me a lot of the Trespass from us here at Dynamic Discs. A little bit more glide, a little bit slower, a little bit more stability as well. So we will get into that here in a minute. But we are also going to be giving this one away. The way to enter into that giveaway is to leave a question or a comment down in the chat for me. Also like the stream and then share the stream as well. So we do have a few people in here. What's up, Zach, Ryan, Derek? We got a bunch of people. Danny just showed up. Don, hey. So go ahead and leave a question in the chat, like the stream, and share the stream. And then at the end, we're going to pick a winner here for this Gold Line Flow. Also, we do have the code FLOW15, FLOW15, and that is going to get you 15% off on the Gold Line Flows, the Opto Air Flows, and then the Opto Flows as well. The only thing that it's not going to work on are these super sweet Metal Flake Josh Childs flows, just because these are a tour fundraiser for him, and so if we were to discount it, then it would kind of defeat the purpose. So these are going to stay the same, but then FLOW15 is going to get you 15% off on all the other flows out there, so you can get some crazy distances, some really cool shots, and save yourself some money. So that is awesome as well. And like I said, there are a few more people here than when we first started. We're giving away this Gold Line one, so leave your questions down in the chat, and that is how we will enter you into the giveaway. Also like and share the stream as well. Let's see, Derek says, does the Flow fly the same as the Giant or World? Derek, definitely not. The Giant and the World are definitely both more overstable than the Flow. The Flow, like I was saying, it reminds me a lot more of a Trespass. A little bit slower and a little bit more overstable. I think it glides a little bit better as well. It has a little bit more dome, I should say. It does have it's a speed 11, which I agree with. The Trespass is a 12, so I think that's right. I think the Flow is a little bit slower than the Trespass. The glide on the Flow is a 6, which again, I definitely agree with. This thing just wants to stay in the air. Eric says longer or shorter Trespass, big arm disc. Distance-wise, I would say they're pretty similar. The Trespass has the edge in speed, where the Flow has the edge in glide, and so it kind of balances out in my eyes. I would guess maybe if you were trying to throw a max distance shot, I would reach for a Trespass before I threw a Flow. I feel like it's just a little bit easier to get more distance with the Trespass, but that could be just 100% a mental thing. The Flow could fly a lot farther for other people than the Trespass for sure. Adam says, I need one for my aunt. Adam, hopefully if you win this giveaway for this one, then you can give it to your aunt. Ryan says, support Josh Childs. Yeah, exactly. These ones here, we do have some Metal Flake sparkly Josh Childs flows. Super cool stamp on them as well. But the code FLOW15 does not apply to these, because then you wouldn't be supporting Josh, and that's not what anybody wants. So pick up a regular Gold Line, Opto Air Flow, but also pick up one of those sparkle Josh Childs flows and throw him some money, help him out a little bit. You should do a code called Ant Flow for the red ones. Christopher says, how heavy is the disc? Christopher, this Flow that we're giving away is a 170. It comes up to 175. And then let's see, this Air one here is a 158, but it goes down to 155. So there's quite a range of weights and stabilities for the Flow. The Opto Air also has a little bit less dome as well. Matthew says, the Wraith was one disc I was having trouble replacing. The Flow is a crazy good replacement. Yeah, as far as not Dynamic Discs, Latitude 64 and Westside Discs go, I think that's a really good comparison, is the Wraith. I think it's definitely similar. I think the Flow has more glide. I think the Flow has a lot more glide, I should say. Very similar in all other aspects. Maybe a little bit less overstable, but not something you're going to have to worry about flipping unless, as you're going to see in these clips here in a minute, unless you're throwing into super winds, you're not going to have to worry about this thing flipping and dumping on you for sure. It holds up to a lot of power, and it holds up to a lot of power into a lot of wind as well. Let's see. I like the Heat, long flight, slow fade. I have not thrown one of those, unfortunately, so I couldn't really compare it too much. But if, like you're saying, long flight, slow fade, I would agree. I would say that that's going to be pretty similar to a flow for sure. Cody says, so does it have more high-speed turn? It really doesn't have a whole lot of high-speed turn, no. Like I said, similar to a trespass. Somebody else said Wraith, similar to that, where it's going to have a little bit. If you throw it on a little hyzer, it will stand up and go straight for you, but it's not going to dump over. It's not going to be an instant roller for you or anything like that. So it does have a little bit of high speed, but not a ton. Would you say it's between a trespass and a getaway? Kind of, but does it fall between those two? Yes, but it's much more similar to a trespass for me. So yes, but also not quite. I throw a lot of Wraiths. Are they similar to a flow? Yes, absolutely. I would say they're very similar. Is it more stable than a striker? I would say yes. There are some strikers, some of the older runs were like meat hook overstable. So it's not going to be any more overstable than those, but your stock strikers now, I think the flow is going to be a little bit more overstable, a little bit faster, and it's going to have a lot more glide as well. Do you and Robert use the same hair products? Actually, Simon, we do. Let's see. Eric says, I missed the Sheriff, so I bought one. The Sheriff? Sheriff? I'm going to guess that says Sheriff, unless that's a word that I've never seen before.
I don't think the Sheriff is a disc we have.
Nah, it's not. Alan said it's not a disc we have, and I agree. It is not one that I have heard at all. Would it be like a faster getaway? Yes. Kind of. Pretty similar, but it's a more accurate depiction would be a slower trespass to me. A little bit more glide than a trespass, a little bit more stability, but much more similar to a trespass than a getaway. Just got a Maverick and Captain. I'm very impressed with DD's discs. Thank you, Christopher. Hopefully, not this one, this one. If you check this one out, the Flow, if you win the giveaway for this one, or if not, you use the code FLOW15, then you can try out Latitude's discs. They have some really good ones as well. Also, Westside has some good discs too. Flow has more glide than a Wraith, can confirm. Thank you, Matthew. That does not surprise me one little bit. Does the Flow, or has it ever come in glow? Not that I know of, but I feel like it should. A glow flow? Glow flow. It should. That would be fun. Beginner with a strong arm, best putter, Tom says. I'm going to guess that's supposed to be a question. Whether you're a beginner or a pro, I think that the best putter that we offer is the Warden, and then choose your plastic type. If you like a hard putter, then go with the Classic. If you like soft, go with the soft. If you like something in the middle, go with the Blend. I prefer the Prime. I think it stays a little bit straighter, a little bit longer, and the stability or the flexibility is kind of between the hard and the medium. So it's the perfect putter for me, at least in my mind. Could it be the longest tailwind driver in the Trilogy lineup? Tomas asks. Well, Tomas would be the one to know, as he designs all of the discs. But could it be? I absolutely think it could be. It's not the fastest disc by any means. There's obviously things like the Sheriff, things like the Ballista Pro, things like that are going to be faster, but the glide on this thing is just nuts. And like he said, longest tailwind driver. I think if you give this thing some air, if you throw it nice and high and just get some turn on it, yeah, it could go a mile. I do actually, we'll go ahead and play these clips for you. I do have, excuse me, the very last clip here, you'll see it, is into a pretty strong headwind. And as you'll see, it flipped and rode and went really far. It was funny when Danny and I were out filming, after I threw it, I just kind of slowly turned around and Danny and I just looked at each other and was like, oh, Well, that went far. So yes, longest tailwind driver, I think it absolutely could be. I wouldn't throw this into headwinds, but it was not scared of the one time that I did. David says, are they domey or flat top, David? They're pretty domey. The Opto Airs have a little bit more of a flatter top to them, but it's definitely still got a little bit of a dome to it. Christopher says, narrow or wider grip, fairly typical 11-speed rim size. When we're done with these clips here, I'll cut over and show you the rim. It wouldn't be super wide, not super narrow either. But yeah, this is that long clip into a headwind there. You can see it just bombed. So here you go is the rim. Not super wide, but if anything, I would say it's almost a little bit deep. There's just kind of a standard power grip. And you can see it's a little bit deep for a wide rim, high-speed driver like that. But it's not so deep like I never had any sort of grip issues or nothing like that. So nothing to worry about there in terms of rim width, rim depth, anything like that. Christopher says closer to a nuke. Christopher, I haven't thrown a nuke in years and years and years. From what I remember, that's kind of like really high speed. I think it's kind of between like a trespass and a defender. In which case I would say stability-wise, this is going to be a little bit less overstable, a little bit slower, and then a lot more glide. So you could definitely have both in your bag for very different shots if you do have a nuke in your bag. Tom says, thank you, I'll check out Prime. Good job, Tom. Let me know how you like it because I love mine. There's a flow for your mouth, Eric. I don't know what that means. Hey, Tony. I'm doing good, Mark. How are you, man? Yeah, it's closer to a nuke, he says. Nuke is quite a bit bigger rim, other people are saying. Yeah. So, yeah, it sounds like the nuke is a much faster version, which is kind of what I was expecting. Eric says Saint Pro comparison. They're totally different. The flow is much faster. The Saint Pro is a fairway driver where the flow is a distance driver. It's just, they're very different discs. The Saint Pro is going to be a little bit straighter out of the hand. The flow is going to have a little bit more turn and a little bit more fade. Both glide really well, but that's kind of about where the similarities end. The flow, like I said, is much faster, much longer, a little bit more turn, a little bit more fade. So yeah, it's like the flow is like a step up from the Saint Pro. The Saint Pro is kind of a straight, stable fairway driver, where this is kind of a straight to overstable distance driver. And again, we do have some new viewers, so if you are new to the stream here, we are giving away this gold line flow right here that I used in the clips that you have seen and will see again in just one moment. We are also running a coupon code. It's FLOW15 to save yourself 15% on dynamicdiscs.com, and that is for the gold line flows, the Opto Air flows. That's going to be for everything that is not a Josh Childs tour fundraiser flow or any sort of Deco Die or Dimax or anything like that. Anything else will be 15% off with the code FLOW15, and that's going to run from right now until midnight Tuesday, midnight Central Time Tuesday. What would that be, the 9th, I believe? Tuesday, so we have 6 full days to go ahead and get those orders in. Use the code FLOW15 and save yourself 15% off. Let's see. Mark says the Flow is a faster Saint. So yeah, it sounds like the Saint Pro is going to be a little bit more turn resistant than the Flow. The Flow does have a little bit of turn, and then the Flow, obviously, just because it's a high-speed disc, it's got that wider rim, it's going to finish out a little bit harder. Aaron says my TI Nuke had more turn. All right, so turns out I don't know anything about nukes, which doesn't surprise me. I threw those for maybe a week or so, probably like 5 or 6 years ago when they first came out. I forget when that was. But it's been a while since I've thrown one, so I'm sorry if I was a little wrong there. All I remembered was it's a very high-speed wide rim disc. Zach says, how much for all of them? Zach, $1 million for all of them. I don't know. But if you just add all of them to your cart, use the code FLOW15, and you're going to save yourself 15%. So 15% less than whatever it is. Joshua says, Opto X Flow in the future? I don't know, actually. I don't have any pre-knowledge of what's coming out in the Opto X, Lucid X, any of that stuff. Tomas was in here earlier, so if he's still in here, maybe he could answer that for you. Or maybe that's just going to be a surprise. Maybe that's just going to be one of those things where it's like, you never know. Or like Rusko says, we're always working on something. So, you know, it's kind of his way of saying maybe, but I'm not going to tell you. New to the stream, just migrated to DD a few weeks ago and loving it. Welcome, Justin. What is your favorite disc so far, Justin? I'm curious. If you are new to DD as a whole, I'm wondering what your favorite disc is right now when you first started. For me, mine was a Suspect. When I first started, that was one of the first discs we came out with, and I love that thing. So, Shay says, will the flow make me a better person and or golfer? It's probably not going to help you as a person. That is going to be, you're going to have to work on that on some Che time there. But as a golfer, yes, it will. Which, you know what? Being a better golfer might make you a better person. So, yes, it will make you a better golfer. Probably it will make you a better person as well. And that's a very unofficial guarantee. So, Christopher says, what do I need to order to get a Dynamic Discs sticker? I believe if you're talking about like the vinyls and stuff like that, we do have those on the website. I believe they're either called vinyl or decal. If you search for that on the website, then it should pop up with a whole bunch. There's DD ones, there's Latitude, Westside. I think we have some hand-eye ones as well. So, yeah, let's see. Ryan says, is that shirt you are wearing an athletic shirt or more of a comfy fit? It's just kind of a standard t-shirt. We just came out with them. I forget what it's called. We just came out with a whole bunch of new apparel, new shirts. And so I get all the names mixed up. Give me 1 second and I can try and find it for you here. But no, it is not a dry fit. It's just a regular cotton, not even cotton. I forget what the blend is called. But it's just your standard t-shirt material. It's not a dry fit for sure. Let's go ahead while I'm trying to find this here, the name of this shirt. Here we go. It is the Dynamic Discs Mountains Tri-Blend t-shirt. If you go ahead and search for that on the website, then you will see that here. And it even has the same color that I'm wearing. Here you go. There, I posted it in the chat for you, whoever that was asking about it. Tim says, Suspect is money. Roger says, unfamiliar with this disc. Roger, it is similar to a Trespass. My Reader's Digest version is similar to a Trespass, but with more glide and a little bit less speed. I would say a little bit more stability on the finish as well, but very, very similar. I've been wanting to try one, says Eric. Well, you have a chance because we are giving this one away. To do that, if you're new to the stream, like the stream, share the stream, and then, excuse me, leave your question down in the chat. Aaron says slightly slower, more stable Trespass. Yep. Tommy says comparable to something from DD or Westside. Never thrown a flow. For DD, I would say it's most similar to a Trespass. For Westside, like a really beat up giant. Kind of, I saw someone was asking about the Boatman before. Kind of like a less overstable Boatman. Between a Boatman and a Northman, I would say, for Westside comparisons. I've been slowly switching. The Anvil is what started me, and the Destiny and World have kept me hooked. Nice, Don. Yeah, the Anvil is a super, super good disc. I think the Flow is one of those underrated drivers people have heard of, but don't know exactly what it can do. If you bag it, it won't come out of your bag, says Mark. And I actually saw on the website, on the DD website, someone was, you can review products on there when you buy them. And somebody said something about people always get caught up with new releases and new discs coming out, but they always forget about the old dogs or something like that, he said. And that was really funny to me because I'm guilty of the same thing. I always like, oh, a Ballista Pro, I got to try that. It goes so far. But then you throw something that's been out for a while like the Flow, and you're just like, yeah, I don't need to try all these new discs. Yeah, they're great. Yeah, they're fun. Yeah, they go really far. But the Flow has been out for years and years, and it goes just as far. So yeah, it's one of those, like you said, Mark, it's one of those underrated ones that people know about, but they've never really tried. And it's one that people are missing out on for sure. That pink with the silver stamp looks nice. Yeah, it does. There's a few pink ones there, Joseph. So if you want to pick one up, use the code FLOW15, save 15% on Goldline, Opto Air, and I believe Opto as well, just not the Josh Childs fundraisers because it's a Josh Childs fundraiser. We're not trying to hurt him. So the code doesn't work on that, unfortunately. Cool shirt, Joseph says. Thanks, man. Matt says, I found a Flow one time and really like it. Took it out of the bag as it was fairly understable just because it was already pretty beat up. Not sure why I never picked another one up. Matt, now is your chance. You're never going to get one cheaper. It's fine, man. 15% off. Use coupon code FLOW15. Goldline, Opto Air Flows. It's going to be good. You're going to get that thing back in your bag and love it. Joseph says, I just got a trespass. Love it. I need a suspect then. Yes, Joseph, you do. Eric says, do you think it would be a good roller? If you've got the arm to get it down, yes. I think it could be a very good roller. But for me and my arm speed, it's just a little bit too stable. I would have to really crank over on it, and that's just not the way I like to throw rollers. I like to throw something more understable that I can just kind of throw hard and flat and let the disc work down. So if you are a big power player, if you throw really hard, if you throw really far, I think it would work for sure. Roy, how does it compare to a King? It is not as fast as a King, a little bit more glide than a King, and it's got a lot more stability than a King. The King is super fast and pretty understable for me, where the Flow is not quite as fast and pretty straight for me. It's comparable to a Northman, Mark says. Yeah, I remember the Northman being a little bit more understable, but they're pretty similar. Let's see, what other questions do we have? Eric says, did you try it forehand? Yes. I didn't love it because it is a little bit deeper than kind of your standard high-speed distance driver would be, and so my grip didn't love that. But also my sidearm game just isn't great. So it could just be a me thing. I think with its kind of neutral to overstable flight, if you have a solid sidearm, I think it would be really good. But solid sidearm is not how you would describe my sidearm game right now. It comes and goes, and right now it is gone, unfortunately. So I kind of have to get that back. I have to work on it. Mark says, let's see the throws again, please. Absolutely, Mark. Here you go, bud. So the first one we were just talking about sidearms. The first one is a sidearm, and this one was a little bit nose up, a little bit high out of my hand. Excuse me. And you can see it kind of, it just kind of stalled out a little bit short, but it's a safe shot. This one is a hyzer into a little bit of a wind, and you can see it just stood up straight, kept gliding, kept pushing forward, and then started its fade. Nice and hard, decently solid to the left. This one I was coming back with a little bit of a tailwind, and so I gave it a little bit less hyzer, and you can see it still went straight. And it was pretty low, but it's still, the wind got underneath it and just carried it and pushed it straight for far. I don't remember how far that one was, but it was really far considering it was uphill in a tailwind. And this now again, a little right to left, so you can see it pushing it a little bit more to the left than you would expect. And again here, now a strong tailwind. You can see it blowing on my sleeves. Hyzer release, and it just holds that. So it's not going to flip over, it's not going to dump on you. And then this last one is just a smash, if I do say so myself, because I do. Threw with a hyzer into the wind, kind of picked it up here. I thought it was going to dive, picked it up and just carried it, and it went super far. So when I was filming that with Danny, we kind of looked at each other like, what? I didn't know I could do that. I've seen Danny do that. I've seen plenty of people throw shots like that. Just didn't think I would be able to do that. Not even into a headwind with kind of a straight disc. So Garrett says, what course is that? Mark says, what's this, covering up the red shirt? No, Mark, we just went out and filmed some more discs and reshot some stuff because we had some time, so that's just a different red shirt. Garrett, for your question, the first course was Jones East, and then the second one was over at Peter Pan. Trent says, how is this disc for a weaker thrower? I would think it's really not bad at all. Noemi was in here earlier, and she said she talks about how she loves the airflow because she doesn't have a huge arm, and it's not so overstable that she can't get any distance with it. So if you have a weaker arm, I would definitely check out the airflow. Coupon code FLOW15 and save yourself 15% on that. So, what's your favorite disc out of the set? Oh gosh, Zach, that's a tough question. My overall favorite disc is probably the Maverick. I feel like I can do almost anything with that disc, just depending on my release angle and how much power I put on it. But that's obviously not a disc that I could throw on every shot. So I have favorite discs for different shots. But my overall favorite disc would have to be either the Maverick or either the Enforcer or the Warden. It's probably between those three. Those are my top three for sure. Thank you for answering. You're welcome, Trent. Delaney says, how does it compare to a Getaway? I think it's faster than a Getaway. I think it's not as overstable as a Getaway, and the glide is pretty similar, I would say. Both discs just want to glide a lot. I would guess the Flow might even have a little bit more glide, honestly. The Getaway does glide a lot, but I think the Flow might have it beat. Brandon says, what are the numbers? It's a speed 11, a glide of 6, turn of negative 0.5, which I think is pretty accurate. You could bump that up to a negative 1 if you have a bigger arm, and then a fade of 2 I think is pretty straight on. It's not going to have like a dumping fade like the Defender has a 3 fade. It's not going to fade as hard as that. The Sheriff has a 2, and I think they have a similar kind of little bit of flip, little bit of fade flight to them. So I think those are absolutely accurate numbers. Tim says, how's the glide compared to an Escape? I think they're pretty similar. The Escape is a little bit less overstable, a little more on the understable side. So it might feel like it has a little bit more glide, but both just glide forever. You're not going to throw one and be like, man, I wish that disc glided more. I wish it just had a little bit more hang time to it. Like, they're going to be in the air forever. Air collects the airflow. Let's see, how's the glide compared to an Escape? What's your favorite Latitude 64 fairway, Michael says? Hands down for me, it's the Culverin. I think the Culverin, people have been asking about how the Flow is similar to a Getaway. I think the Culverin is very similar to the Getaway. They're almost identical. I think the Getaway might just have a little bit more glide to it because it has a little bit more dome. But I prefer a flatter disc. I prefer less dome on my drivers. So I prefer the Culverin to the Getaway, but they're almost one-to-one in terms of flight. In terms of, like, if you throw the same shot with both, they're going to land almost on top of each other. Matt says Flow compared to a Trespass. The Flow is a little bit slower and a little bit more stable, and I would say a little bit more glide as well. So similar, yes, but not quite exactly the same. But they're similar. Let's see if we have any more questions here in the chat. I do not see any. So, for the new viewers here, we are giving away this gold line Flow that I used in these clips right here. So to enter into the giveaway, all you have to do is leave a question down in the chat, like the stream, and then share the stream. And that's it. That's how we will enter you into this contest. Also, for the new viewers, use coupon code FLOW15, and that's going to save you 15% off on gold line flows, on opto flows, opto air flows, but it's not going to work on any sort of Dymax, or I believe we have Deco Dye flows, and then also the Josh Childs Tour fundraiser flows will not be 15% off. Francisco says, Opto X, please. Unfortunately, I don't know if that is a thing that's in the works, Francisco. It is not a thing that's out right now, but it's possible that it could be in the future. Roy says, what's your max distance with the Flow? I usually throw like around 400. I throw enforcers and a sheriff in my bag right now. So I would guess my distance with the flow is about the same. I really don't think I lose any distance with it. It's a little bit slower than, like I was saying, trespass. It's a little bit slower than the sheriff. It's a little bit slower than the enforcer. And those are the distance discs that I use. But because it has so much glide, it has more glide than those three, I think, that I feel like I wouldn't lose any distance with that slower flight. So I would say right around that 400, maybe on a good pull, like, I don't know, 415, 425, but that would be like, everything's perfect. I get the right wind and everything like that. So for me, kind of a typical max distance. 400, dang, I'm over here happy shooting 250. Zip, yeah, I've been playing for a hot minute, so just get some time under your belt, get some form work in, get some field work in, and you'll break that 250 mark no problem. Joshua says, heard of a moonshine version, would almost finish out my glow bag. I have not, unfortunately, but again, people are asking about Opto X. Moonshine flows are very possibly a thing in the future as well. I don't know. Sorry. You and I are both going to have to wait on that one. Jeff says, how would this compare to a Saint? Again, someone earlier asked about the Saint Pro. Very different discs. The Saint is a fairway driver, where the flow is a distance driver. The Saint is kind of a straight to understable disc, where the flow is straight to overstable. So you could very easily have both in your bag and not have any sort of overlap between the two. Very, very different. The flow is a lot faster. It's a lot farther. It has similar glide. The Saint glides really well as well. But the flow is going to be faster. It's going to be farther. It's going to have more stability. So those are very different discs. You could definitely, if you have the Saint in your bag and you're loving it, you could definitely have both in your bag. All right. Yes, Moonshine, Eric says, yes, that would be sweet. Crystal says, sounds like a great disc. Crystal, that's because it is a great disc. So it seems like that's all the questions we have, and we can't do this forever as much as I would like to. We have to wrap the show up at some point. So I will go ahead and play these clips one last time for everyone, and then we will pick the winner for the giveaway of this gold line flow. So if you are just joining, see, we just had a couple more people join. If you want to enter into the giveaway, quickly leave a question in the chat for me, and we will enter you in that way. Otherwise, I'm going to have to pick a number, and we're going to just go through the comments, and that's the number that we're going to pick. That's the one. That's the person who's going to win. Crystal says hello from Tulsa, Oklahoma. Crystal, hello from Emporia, Kansas. Joseph says, me please. Well, Joseph, you got a chance, bud. You have just as good of a chance as every other person out here, but hopefully you. Brett also says, me. We're getting towards the end of these clips here. Getting to it. Hope you guys aren't too nervous. Christopher says, please give it to me. Don says, I'm only one state away. Think about how cheap the shipping is. Eric just says 28. Just 28. Is that how many I should give away, Eric? 28 flows? Do you think that would work? I feel like I might get in a little bit of trouble with that. People might not be too happy with me. Nick says, should I put mine in the bag? Haven't used it in 4 years and it's still new? Absolutely, Nick. If you haven't used it in 4 years and it's brand new, you have to at least try it, right? Who knows, man? Your game's changed a lot in 4 years. I know mine has. Your game's probably totally different. Maybe if you used it before and didn't love it, who knows? It could fit your game now. I would definitely say next time you go out to the course, bring it with you and give it a couple shots, see what it does for you. Francisco says, what version of the flow is more stable? I would say probably the Josh Childs ones with the sparkle opto plastic, and then probably opto would be the next most stable. But they're all very similar from my testing. I haven't noticed too much variation in terms of flow to flow. Never flew one of your disc. Well, Christopher, if you win the giveaway, you can't say that anymore. What's the glide on the flow again? Gold line is more flat, correct? Kyle, I wouldn't say the gold line is more flat. I would say the gold line has more dome for sure, and the glide is a 6. So it's up there. Let's see. Team 64 Castro sign flow. Wow, old school. Yeah, Jordan was on Team Latitude 64 a few seasons back. All right. So the number was 28. I was going to go 25 because that guy was throwing 250 feet. But we'll go with 28. So I'm going to go back. 28 comments. We've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. This is probably the most interesting part of the show for you guys. Right now we're at Crystal at comment number 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28. Wow. I was going to say 25 because this dude was talking about how he throws 250 feet. And then someone else said 28 for the number to go back to on the comments. And the 28th comment back was the guy talking about 250 feet. That's crazy. So zip down, go ahead and shoot your address. Why don't you go ahead and zip your address down to the Dynamic Discs Facebook page, and I will get this shipped out to you today. And we will send this to you so you can zip it down the fairways and, you know, just get lots of birdies and lots of distance and see if it breaks that 250-foot barrier for you. So thank you, everyone, for tuning in. Thank you, everyone, for watching. Again, use the code FLOW15 to save 15% off on your flows from dynamicdiscs.com. That works from right now all the way until midnight Central Time on Tuesday, so you have a whole week to do that. And we will go ahead and play those clips for you, and then we will get out of here, and we will catch you all next week. So thank you, everyone, for tuning in. Goodbye.